this is our live stream number 36, right?
Number 36, yeah.
Yeah, the last of this year, and today or tonight, together with Rich. It's a pleasure to have you on board since 2020, right?
Yeah, pleasure for me as well, and a pleasure for me to join you here in this comfortable ambience tonight for this very different show.
Yeah, tonight we're not going into technical details so much. We rather talk about the year and the things that happened. But still, if you do have any questions, we're here. We are happy to answer. But I don't have prepared like technical topics for today. Maybe I start with how the whole year started. I mean, I have a regular New Year's Eve show. And this was 2019 to 2020. The usual, I do it for 10 years now, sold out, playing with all my musician friends. I have a nice budget, so I can invite people. In the past, I invited, soul singer from London. I had Reggie Worthy on bass. Last year, I don't remember who was there. Anyway, cool show, and nobody knew anything about what the new year will bring.
Yeah.
And so, the beginning was kind of killer. And then, the usual January, nothing, prepare NAMM show. I had one exciting thing, which was like the anniversary of Beethoven. This is why I just came up to play this little Beethoven here. At the beginning, I was playing with our orchestra, the Saarländische Staatsorchester.
Okay. So what were you doing? Are you like directing them and playing a concert of Bach pieces, or what was that?
I was playing with the full 80-piece orchestra, and me and one guy of the orchestra did an arrangement for the Freude schöner Götterfunken. And, my usual, I'm not a good reader. I'm good enough to understand. I have good ears. But I'm always kind of creative and come up with ideas. It's like, maybe we can slide in a little piece here for the band and have the notation that they probably play on some other parts in the symphony on top of the band. So I can make like an arrangement of the original stuff so they don't have to write new sheet on the music, because that's always a big problem. And I came up with a bunch of ideas how to modify the original Beethoven to make a real mesh of Beethoven and the band, and we playing the melody, or I played the melody. I also played the choir, and it's all out of my head. I'm sorry, somewhere in the internet, maybe you find some recording, but who cares? But I had a famous guest, which was the drummer of the Scorpions, Hermann Erbel, or his artist name is Rebel. Mm-hmm. Hermann the German. How does this sound for you, being English?
It sounds perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The German.
Hermann the German. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah. I the other day I saw some TV show. They had Germans that opened a little restaurant for German food in London and some other places in the UK with currywurst and the typical German style food. And I think they also called their shop Hermann the German.
Hermann the German.
But Hermann the German is his artist name for decades, for 30, 40 years with the Scorpions. So, yeah. Nice guy. And he comes also from Saarbrücken, my hometown.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he now lives in Brighton and Munich. He's kind of this rock star kind of guy. And here's the funny thing. Michael Schenker also lives in Brighton.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I mean I know all the stories, and then sometimes they meet at the supermarket just coincidentally, and then they always go, "Shall we play again?" "Oh no, we've done this all in the past. I retire now, It's too loud anyhow, or whatever." So, yeah, this was a nice little highlight in January. And preparing for NAMM show, we had a huge amount to do with mechanical parts, because we wanted to show the study of the Amp X. And
just for anyone who wants to know and doesn't know what the NAMM show is, it's the biggest trade event for musical instruments.
Yeah.
And NAMM stands for the National Association of Music Merchants.
Merchants, yeah.
I think, yeah, and basically all the guitar and amp and musical instrument brands come together, and buyers come from all over the world.
Yeah.
I think maybe 150,000 people are at this show.
Amazing.
Yeah, and if you have a product to show and people to impress, then you have to be at the NAMM show.
Yeah.
So Thomas has been there every year for how many years now?
I don't even know, maybe 30 years, maybe
30
20 years. But it's like, it's a routine already.
Yeah.
It's like, I have my ESTA visa, and you jump into the flight, Lufthansa 456, it's always the same flight. And the whole music industry is on that flight, And queuing up in Frankfurt airport is like meeting the whole industry. It's like Adam Hall and, Susan Kettner and all Europeans are on that flight because, it's a direct flight.
There's like one flight per day from Frankfurt directly to Los Angeles, and everyone's on it,
Yeah, and so, queuing up is the time where you meet, blah, blah, blah. So this is already where it starts. And then, for preparing for the NAMM, I wanted to show the Amp X study. I mean, I have to explain what a study is. It's not a working prototype, it's a study, it's a concept we are working on. But the thing is, we worked so hard to meet the timeline for the NAMM. I was actually going back to the office after the Beethoven concert. We had the concert, and then there was a nice after-show party with drinks and food and important people, and of course, everybody, the minister of the Saarland, and and some politicians, and nice to meet you, and okay. And then after this, I went back to the office, and there was our technician Julian, who is now behind the camera, working. This is like 2 a.m. After finishing some parts. You can see the screws are not black yet, so we did this with a Sharpie. But this is the way we work, because you have to meet the deadline. And
yeah, but it looked amazing at the show. So I was also at the show. I've done I think maybe 9 or 10 NAMMs now. So for me, it's a massive routine as well, but nothing like you. And I was working, of course, for another company at the time, but I always come round to see what you're up to, because we've known each other a long time. And I was like, oh. And you said, so we have the Amp 1 here, the Mercury Edition, and this is the Iridium, which you know as well, and we've got something else to show you. And then you pulled up this little black curtain, and there was this glass box there, and there was the Amp X study inside.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness.
I mean, this is in my head for many years already. I mean, this is going back 2.5 years at least. Yeah. And now the mechanical concept is clear, the technical concept is clear. Actually, we changed things. So this is the study. The next live stream, or in a live stream maybe in January or so, I can show you how it is now. So there's an evolution.
Yeah, that would be good. There's already, I can see in the comments, I'm reading your comments, guys.
Okay.
Already things coming and people wanting to know about Amp X. I guess we'll come to that slightly later in the stream. And in January, you're going to do a bit of a bit of an update 1 year on. Yeah,
I mean, this is something I'm actually planning to have on a little bit regular basis to talk about Amp X, the progression, where we are. And of course, why things take so long there's COVID times, this thing is so complex. And, you know, maybe a customer looks at the whole thing and says, oh yeah, it looks nice and easy and small, and there's a few knobs. But we are talking neural analog technology. That's something nobody has ever done before. So, I mean, it's a nice race, but when you have to back it up with actually the stuff that works behind the scenes, deep shit.
Well, that's another interesting thing for me, because I came to NAMM in January this year, and I saw this Amp-X, and so did everybody else. And we were all like, oh my God, this thing is here, and it looks like it's going to change certain parts of this amp industry. And me, of course, working for a competitor company at the time, I brought the whole team over and said, look what Thomas is doing there. Very interesting. But the thing is now, it's a year on, and in January, people were already saying, oh my God, when is this coming out? And now it's a year later, and the guys in the comments are saying, when are we going to see it?
You will see it in 2021. Next year, definitely, I hope for mid of the year. We are making good progress, but there's still so many details that take time, and it would not make any sense to release an unfinished product. This will be our new flagship. The new flagship needs to be perfect in a way. I mean, we will start with a limited amount because it's like an open system. We won't get the full whistle and bells and all possible features. This is an ongoing project for the next 10 years. But still, the platform needs to be right. And if I speed up and miss one thing now, we all, me and you guys, will deeply regret that in a couple of years. So for me, it's so important to make the foundation right. And, you know, then we can both, me as the designer or one of those designing the amp, and the user, which is also me and you, you know, we will have fun in like 3, 5, 7, 10 years when the platform is right, and we can still get great updates and new sounds, new amps, new effects, and all that stuff. And if something is not, if something is limiting us now, then, you know, I don't want to be there and say, oh guys, I'm sorry, I can't do it. So that's the thing about the Amp-X, and we will talk about this surely, and this will be a big thing for next year. But for me, the thing about showing this at the 2020 NAMM was 2020 was a decade, and you know, I think the X is such a big thing for me, and so I thought I have to unveil at least this is coming. It's an X, it's like a 10, and this is 2020. Now I have to show what I'm working on.
All right, finally I get it, because I didn't know why, because I thought it would be coming out this year at some point back then. And I thought, okay, it's still kind of soon. But now I understand it. It does make sense. It's a flagship, and it was symbolic to have it at the start of this decade. And now, of course, this year has been so different, and you know, nothing has been normal, and it makes sense to say, okay, let's take the time and make sure that we get it spot on, because we can. Absolutely.
And it's things go slower when you have COVID. You know, like we work with other, you know. We have a mechanical designer, and you know, the stuff is not complete, and so things go slower than normal. It is how it is. But hey, we take our time, we do it right, and that's my philosophy. And all good. Okay, let's move on. What happened in the year?
So you released the Amp-X study at NAMM. It was a massive buzz, and then you went on vacation.
I went on vacation. I stayed in the US. That's a trick that I usually do when I go to NAMM. It's of intercontinental flight, and then when you are in the US, I sometimes go to whatever the Caribbean, which is a cheap way to make vacation once you're there.
Yeah.
Because you get a $150 flight or something from LA to Barbados or whatever, and it's nice and sunny for a change. And even having a vacation, sometimes I will stop to work for 3 days and do nothing, and then after a while, I do stuff with my girlfriend, and then after 5 days, I start to go, and there's some paper next to me, and my mobile phone, and there's some output.
Do you take a guitar with you?
Sometimes I do, but 2020 I didn't, because the guitar that I took at NAMM I sent to Jennifer Batten. So she now has my BluGuitar number 10, which I have been playing since ever I do BluGuitars.
Actually, you know what? I remember that because we met after the NAMM show. We hung out for a day and had a bit of a chat. Sure. And we went to visit a YouTuber. We went to visit Sean Pierce Johnson.
Yeah, right.
Sean, if by any chance you're watching this, hi.
Hi, yeah.
I hope you're doing well.
Yeah. What was it? Huntington Beach, or where does he live?
No, Laguna.
Laguna.
Or something like that. Yeah. Some lovely place by the sea there. Yeah, lovely house. And it was great to see him. And you played that guitar then, and you told me this guitar's not coming back because Jennifer Batten insists on having it.
Yeah, see, this is how it is. And this is what we've done behind the scenes, nobody knowing that.
Yeah, that was private back at the time, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, all good. So on vacation, the vacation actually was in Florida, and some people do know that I like push bike riding, just for relax. I'm not a fighter on a bike. I'm just relaxing, and the good thing on the beach where we've been is the sand is so powdery that when the water comes, the surface is really strong. It's not soft. You don't dig in. It's like it's almost like concrete. So what you can do, which is actually killing your bike, but who cares? I got it from my landlord, Airbnb style, blah, blah, blah. And you can have my bike, some old rusty bikes. But you can drive in the water or, and there's a nice picture of, going back home to the apartment at sunset. And it's actually a good thing to do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it is a nice thing that we get to go in January or February across to Southern California, where it's like basically summer weather for us. That's an advantage for sure.
I mean, it's still winter for them, but you probably don't want to go there in summer. I've been there once in like August, and it's like desert hot, 40 degrees Celsius or something like this. It's like, it's hard to survive.
For the pale English skin, that's not going to work.
Yeah. So I mean, the vacation was cool. So February, nothing special. Then I flew home, and back home I had a couple of gigs. And at the beginning in February, actually, even on my vacation, I had a few days where I felt ill. And my colleagues going back to Germany, they were really sick.
You mean the BluGuitar team?
Yeah, the BluGuitar team. So I believe that we already had COVID.
You reckon, do you?
Yeah.
It's possible. Everyone who goes to NAMM always catches something, and we call it NAMMthrax.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of flu that you get. But this year I remember we talked about it. Yeah. We talked about this. There was this virus in China or in Asia or something. And
but we didn't.
It hadn't really got there, and we weren't that worried about it. But I think a few Asian companies had already pulled out of the NAMM show, right?
Right. Yeah.
Even in January. And then, of course, you and the team got ill, so you think that you guys might have had COVID already.
For me, it was like only 2 days of feeling a bit weird, but my other colleague had struggled with it for 2 weeks and being really badly ill. And of course, it could be something else. At that time, nobody did care, but it could have been the COVID thing.
Yeah. So you got back though, and you were able to play some gigs in February and even in March, maybe?
Yeah, March. And the first one in March was like Gifhorn in the north of Germany. And you already had the news like, okay, guys, something going on here. So we didn't have the places packed as usual. There were not so many people, but still, I mean, coming back from vacation, having fun, being totally relaxed, play the gigs was great. And we played Münster, this was nice because I haven't been playing that venue for at least 15 years.
Yeah.
And then everything had to stop.
Yeah.
So, okay, I had my 3-4 gigs at the beginning of the year, and then this was it. And I guess you guys had all the same big issue with what are we doing with all that free time, not gigging, social distancing, how to deal with that. And well, as we all did, we cleaned our apartments, our houses. We looked, at things we've never looked before because we had no time for that in the past. But then you started to clean this. You started to, rearrange that. The what is it called? The Bauhaus, the supermarket.
The DIY superstore.
Yeah. These,
like the Home Depot.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The Home Depots, they were crowded. You had to line up to get in. Yeah. If you want to buy some screws or nails or a hammer or whatever kind of tools, because everybody was home, building, construction, changing the house or the garden or, do something, So, and then there was a phase where we thought about, oh man, the concerts got cancelled. What can we do? And then some guys came up with streaming ideas. So I had a streaming gig in Mainz, and this was kind of a 3,000 seat arena with 50 people in there, which was including the technical team. So it's like, at least we had a few that clapped like this. And we played that venue, and it felt good just to play. I mean, any gig is a good gig. Yeah. It's better than no gig.
Yeah, because normally you play quite a lot of concerts throughout the year, don't you?
Yeah.
So you play Thomas Blug's Rock, Anarchy. You might do some Blug plays Hendrix.
Yeah, and sometimes I do special things with other friends, like Ben Grenfeld. I played later this year. I played a little tour, like at the end of summer. Yeah. And so I join in with other bands sometimes and stuff like that. But if you do nothing, it's like so weird. Yeah. So and this was kind of the idea that we actually started our own live stream, which we are now doing on episode 36. I mean, this was the first live stream in April, 22nd of April. And of course, we had to build up the video studio. We had to clean the room. We had to, get the technical stuff working. And if you look the first episodes, they were good. But they were probably not as fluent in a way like now. I mean, now it feels so natural. It becomes a routine, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah. And you've done one every week since, right? You've not missed a week yet?
Not a week. I mean, I've been out of the studio like 2 or 3 times where I was not here. Then we did some pre-recorded streams or hybrid streams or whatever. So, but the whole live stream was it still is a nice journey, and we could invite so many great people, which includes Jennifer Batten, which includes, do I have a list? Wait a minute, I do have a list because I forgot about it already. So Alex Byroth, okay, Alex is a a local from this area. And of course, traveling is not so easy in COVID times. And Alex, killer guitar player, I think we've done 2 episodes already, which is number 9 and 15. Gundy Keller, you know too.
Yeah, I do.
And Gundy, I mean, is famous for being the boss, Mr. Boss. He actually gave so much input to, Boss products. He even has been many times to Japan and was kind of their sound designer. Maybe they have a few more, but Gundy was a very, very important part of the Boss multi-effects processor. And we go back for every trade shows. I mean, how many years I do that, how many times we have met, how many times he has a great sense of humor, It's always good to meet colleagues and have a good joke when you're in China, moaning about whatever or having fun about,
Yeah.
So this was Gundy. Then Manuel Kettenring, and Fabian Ratzak. Fabian is a very nice guitar player too. Oliver Hartmann. Then I had my friend Andreas Kloppmann, who's the pickup guy.
Yeah.
He was actually staying with his whole family here when he was on vacation in the south of France. And then, of course, we used the time in the morning when the family was asleep. We did some shootings upstairs. Yeah. And then while doing this little tour in the second half of summer with Ben Granfeld, we shot a few bits and pieces with him on tour. And then being in North Germany, we came close to Andreas Kloppmann's place. So we shot something at his place and put that in our live streams. And then we had like video guests where we didn't meet in person like this, where we actually had like split screens, so me on one side and then the guest on the other side, which was Jennifer Batten in stream 14, Erik de Jong, who is a Dutch, his name is, I think, the Dutch guitar dude number 3.
Okay.
And it's all AMP1 users. And then there's Dr. Nathan McFarland from Nashville, which I found quite interesting. American. I like this American accent. Sometimes great. And Paul Rose. Paul Rose is the UK guitar player, and we actually go back for the Strat Kings, when I was awarded the Strat King by Fender in 2004, this competition. He was one of the 6 finalists.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there were like 6 guitar players, and one got the final prize, which was me, but all the other 6 finalists we met in Arundel, UK.
What?
Arundel. There's a castle, I don't know,
okay.
Arundel Castle somewhere.
Yeah.
And this where the finals were. And he's now also playing the AMP1 and blah blah blah. It's all nice. And then he was on the live stream. And he was actually touring Germany just before the COVID thing. He had to cancel the tour.
Oh.
In the middle of the tour.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's with the Band of Friends, which was Rory Gallagher's band.
Okay.
Which is the original drummer and bass player, and they have some other singer, blah blah blah. So Band of Friends, Paul Rose. And the same thing happened to Saga, to Ian Crichton, when they toured Germany. We met here in my hometown, which was very comfy, so I just go a few hundred meters and I'm at the venue where he played, and they played, I think, 3 more shows, and this was it. They had to go fly back home to Canada just because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
So this did a lot of damage to musicians, to technicians that work on the shows, and I mean, financially, physically, mentally, the COVID thing was, or is still, the toughest thing most musicians experienced in, I think, their whole life.
Oh, we have Paul Rose on the stream.
Oh,
so
really?
He's probably just watched you say nice things.
Which one is the which camera is on? I have the middle one. Okay, I have to check out which camera because we usually don't film here. Hi, Paul. I have to tell you, being the finalist, I had a good day, but you're the better guitar player. I admit it. Okay, officially, it's for you. And you have to watch Paul Rose's live streams as well. I think he has many more by now, 300 something. And he's such a nice guy. He's always been such a relaxed and nice guy. And he plays killer. He simply plays killer. And greetings. I think Newcastle is where he lives. Hopefully I'm right. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so this was the thing, with Saga and the strange gigs. Then at the beginning of summer, I had a few drive-in concerts where people come with cars, need to stay inside the car, and then only for the encore they are allowed to go in front of the car and wave a little bit, and before that was only honking. The weirdest experience ever, but who cares? I mean, they had fun, we had fun, and as I said, any gig is better than no gig.
Yeah, sure. Also for the people who love to watch live music as well,
Yeah.
I mean, watching a gig from your car is not the same as being there in the crowd, and crowd surfing, for example, is going to be very difficult if you're in a car. But you all know that there's a vaccine going on, so hopefully the whole thing will be better in half a year. So the way I look at the whole thing is we can't change it anyway. Yeah.
So let's try to make the best out of it. There's a German saying, if you get a lemon, make lemonade out of it. So don't get sour, just try to make something positive out of it. And this is what I do out of crazy situations like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had another important thing in this year. My car died. After 500,000 kilometers, it was time to retire. I mean, it had a pump pressure thing, and with 500,000 kilometers, it was not worth spending more money on it. Even though it was an Audi and it had no corrosion, but I was driving the crap out of it, including all my musicians. This car, a convertible, we had tours with Raoul Walton on bass, and the bass amp, my rig in there, and then David Reedman, the singer, in the car. Everybody squeezed in. I had so great memories with this car because I bought that car in 2003, and 2.5 liters, blah, 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 nice car. And at that time, I wanted a car where the trunk was big enough to get the gear in and not too many musicians, because before that I had a, what's it called, the bigger one, A6 Avant.
Like a hatchback.
Hatchback,
yeah.
And back in those days, with the bigger car, I had even more musicians in my car.
Yeah.
And driving to a gig with like a bunch of, musicians that haven't met for weeks, that all exchange their news. I'm the driver, and they go and have a party already. And you go 3-4 hours in the car, and they go, yeah, rah, rah. And, I thought, get a convertible, downsize, and have only one next to you. But sometimes we ended up having 4 people in the car, old school style. But mainly, I could reduce to like 2, which is like a very decent, polite conversation with your colleague. You know, okay, what's new at home, and blah blah blah. You played with this guy, and so, and but the Audi has been. I had used that car for Stuart Copeland when he hired me as a session player.
Okay.
And this was actually the last time I actually moved a 4x12 because I thought Stuart Copeland is worth it, and I don't want to be, oh sorry, I was prepared with my fat cap and a Marshall 4x12, because I have it. But I had to open the roof, get the 4x12 in, and then close back the roof. And Stuart actually helped me to unload the 4x12.
Oh, very nice of him.
Super cool guy. I mean, tall, like 2 meters, and I don't know. It's like, hello, Mr. Stuart. Okay, that's very nice. And so this, was some experience. So I have very, very good memories about that car. And now I have a new convertible car from BMW, which is kind of similar to the Audi. It's the same kind of format as the 3 Series, 10 years old or whatever, 8 years old. And the top is metal now, which means when I put the top down, there's even less space in the trunk. Just enough for my gear with the MX. So now, when I drive with my current pedal board, the top needs to be closed. Then there's enough room in the back to put that in. But, it's a rock star thing to drive top down to the gig. So this is my thing for 2021 with the MX. Then.
And hopefully when you can play some more gigs.
Yeah, I mean, I already have, that's a good thing. When you look back at this year, rearranging gigs, it's like, even the organizers tried, we can't do it now, let's postpone it in second half of the year. And then we had to cancel again. And then there was the hope for maybe later the year we can do it. And then they had to cancel again. But most places told me, we already have dates in the calendar already. So it's just the moment when it's officially allowed, I can unveil my dates. I'm not doing anything now because I tried 3 times already, and it's like, okay, now I wait for officially allowed gigs. And then, my feeling is it will happen, let's say, latest at the mid of 21.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So, no gigs.
Yeah.
You've not been doing that this year. What happened then when the lockdowns kicked in for BluGuitar, the company? Because obviously you're a small team, 4 or 5 people tops. Were things able to continue as normal?
At the beginning, we were kind of a little bit concerned how to handle the situation. But our office is kind of nice in a way because we kind of have separate rooms with a lot of doors, so we can be everybody in its individual room. We can open the doors and talk or scream, hello, and not being too close.
Yeah.
And it works. Somehow it works. Of course, some things were different. Especially, the music shops got closed at the beginning of the year. So, and the business was bad at the beginning first. And then it was getting better again. But in summer, I was really scared. It's like, oops, this goes down. It's like, this is dangerous. And then suddenly it was anything but normal, but in the weak months usually the weak months is more August, summer. It started to raise again. The numbers were better, and for me, I'm not the big numbers guy, but I mean, when it's getting critical, that's a hard thing. So for me, I was very, very happy to see that it was this, and then it went back. So this was very good to experience.
Yeah, I think musicians, after the initial shock of COVID and lockdown, they started to buy things online.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot of online music stores have had some of their best results ever in 2020.
Yeah, and this is also why we made a new website and opened our own online store to be one of many options. Well, I'm still happy about every local shop, because this is the place where you actually can go and hold the guitar in your hand and feel, the amps and the guitars and stuff. So I'm really about supporting the local dealers. On the other hand, we have the super big companies like Thomann in Germany or Sweetwater that do a brilliant job, and they probably have benefited from the whole thing the most. And our shop is to offer an alternative which kind of keeps the whole thing hopefully in balance. I hope that all the good stores will survive, and I will do whatever I can to help them, because it's if somebody makes a music store with passion and actually does something for us, like BluGuitar products, I come there and I try to help them. And but on the other hand, if it's not possible, and if you don't do anything, everything goes down. And I'm about positive energy. And so this is why we started the live streams and be self-contained in a way, or that we can, in the worst case, we can live by ourselves in our little universe.
Yeah, because that's actually another thing that you used to do a lot of when it was possible. That was go to stores and do clinics as well.
Yeah.
There was always the BluGuitar side, the products,
Yeah.
and then there's the Thomas Blug side, the artistry, playing with the bands.
Yeah.
And then there's this kind of middle ground where you would visit stores as Thomas Blug, but talk about BluGuitar products.
Yeah.
And do clinics and demos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's also something that last year could not happen.
Absolutely not. I did one clinic
One.
for 10 people, because this was as much as it was allowed in physical, in Hamburg. This was in Hamburg. And this was another thing, actually talking about Hamburg, which happened very late in the year. Number One Guitar Center is a store in Hamburg. And this is actually the store where I bought my 61 Strat, which is over there, but you all know my 61 Strat, the white one, when I was 17. And this store asked me to demo, 30 killer old vintage guitars. So I had to play old Tellys, Stratocasters, Les Pauls, 59s, 50, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all the stuff that you dream about. And also some guitars that are so vintage, I didn't even touch the tuners. Because it's like, if you have a 59 Les Paul and the plastic is kind of about to not even fade, I mean, it's like break. It's like, okay, this guitar is so expensive, I don't tune it, I just play it. And
not worth it. Oh, we got Manuel Kedenring on the
hi, Manuel.
Stream as well, if you're still there.
Yeah, hi Manuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I was there shooting the videos, which will be out at the beginning of 2021, coming on their channel, but somehow we will make maybe links so you guys can see. And while I was there, I was doing a little clinic on the Saturday afternoon. But of course, you have a certain amount of people for a room of a certain size, and there was only 10 people allowed, which still was a lot of fun, but compared to normal, not so. And usually when I do gigs, on the way to the gig or on the way back home from the gig, sometimes I simply put on a clinic as well, because it's on the way. I don't mind driving, but I hated in the past driving all the way to Hamburg, do a concert, coming back to Saarbrücken, 700 kilometers, and 3 days later do a clinic. This is now being the boss of my company and the band, I can synchronize stuff. Oh, and that's so good. And then I'm free. And it feels so much better because it makes more sense. If anything that makes sense, I'm a fan of.
Yeah. I got a question.
Yeah.
We got a technical question from Hida, who says, "Hello Thomas, I got my amp one a while back and I'm really happy with it, so that's good. But when I crank the master up to 5 or higher, it gets really bright. Okay, my previous amp had this too. Is this something normal?"
It's probably not the amp. This is a hint, because he says his previous amp does the same thing, and the amp one I know is super consistent. Actually, when you crank the amp higher than 5, the amp itself will be smoother, because there will be a little zagging in the power amp stage, and there will be the peaks, the spikes of the signal will actually be rounded by a compression and little saturation. I guess what he's hearing is his speaker. Of course, at that kind of level, you create extra overtones because you enter the zone of saturation, but it's more, I would describe it not as highs, I would describe it as mids, as something that the guitar amp sounds to bark, rah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my answer on this one.
Yeah, good. And we got other people in there, Oliver and Seidenschuft, who are also really looking forward to playing gigs again. I guess everyone who plays live music and burns for that, that moment when you step up on stage, we're all chomping at the bit to do it again. And you reckon summer next year is going to be that first chance to do it?
This is what I think is possible. I got gigs already on my calendar for March. And the organizers of these gigs want me to play, but hey, we will see. We will simply see.
Yeah.
I can not tell you, I wish to do that, but realistically, I think it will start with some open air stuff, which I have to tell one little story about 2020 open air in Tettnang, which is a nice little village, small city kind of thing at the Bodensee. What's this?
Lake Constance.
Lake Constance, yeah. Okay. Constance is a city at the lake, in front of the Alps. It's a very nice place, and they have tons of fruits. And when the weather is nice, it's the best place on the planet. In wintertime, because it's a lake, there's a lot of fog there. Some people get depressive, but in summer it's a super nice thing. And I play there for many years, and this organizer, Hardy from Tettnang, he came up with a great idea. He has, his normal live venue holds about 120, 150 people, not that many. And so he was doing it outside. And then he was talking to the mayor, and they kind of blocked the street. They closed the street down so people could sit on like beer bank. What's the English word for that?
Benches.
Benches.
Yeah.
Benches where you have beer kind of thing. So like with distance. And then behind that, there was a parking lot where the cars could be. And then there were some people on the other side. Everybody it was kind of spread, but there were like 3 zones. There was a zone in front of the stage on the benches, kind of not so crowded, but okay. Then there were people on the parking lot, in their cars, around their cars, so everything guided. And then there were people like in the restaurant, outside. So, I mean, he was totally conform with what was possible. And then they had like waitresses that served the people. And this was great. I mean, you know, the guy comes up with great ideas and actually does it. So it's, yeah, this was one of those nice things this year. And with this experience, even if there are some restrictions in 2021, people like him will come up with solutions, you know?
That's been the thing this year. The creative people have managed to find ways to get things done.
Yeah. And this is an example for somebody that has a live venue and tries the best how to deal with it. Of course, he has the option because it's close to the parking lot and maybe he knows the mayor, and you know, this is a lot of, some cities, they have stupid mayors. They are allowed nothing, or they are not into being creative. They are just anxious or never, do anything. I highly respect anything official, because if there's a law, we have to follow the rules. But within the rules, if you find a way that is safe, why not do it? I played gigs which were a bit funny because you had to be at kind of this year, like in October. Was it October? No, September. Where I was on stage and I was not allowed to go at the edge. So they moved the monitors a bit inwards and told us this is the line. So, okay. But again, it's okay, because they allowed whatever 70 or 100 people in the town hall where they have usually 1,000 people. And so the concerts were still happening and the distance was officially okay. And they checked everything and I heard of no problems. So all good.
Yeah. Let's take another question.
Yes.
Just now. First, we got some more feedback from Hida, who had the question before.
Yeah.
He's using a Harley Benton cab with 2 Celestion Vintage 30s in it. So that could account for it. And the previous amp was a Music Man combo.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong about Music Man combos, but the Vintage 30s here, it's a general thing. The Vintage 30 is a... I know Vintage 30s very well, over decades. The thing about when it's a new Vintage 30, they have... Vintage 30 always has a 500 hertz, nice low foundation. That's me. A very good speaker, and it's loud, but it has a little all the time, which the metal guys love. Me personally, not so much. If you beat a Vintage 30, if you really hammer it, for years and years and years, it gets smooth. Then it's shining. But if you crank a Vintage 30, you get the cone cry.
Yeah.
And I think he is experiencing the cone cry. So the cone cry is something that's the membrane of the speaker has a resonance, and this resonance can get so strong that the speaker itself starts to make that noise. I recorded that on my first solo record, The Beauty of Simplicity, on a track called 3 AM, something like this, like a jazz tone, and it sounds like a saxophone. Mm-hmm. And it's a very... And this note, D, try out the D, is exactly the resonance of that cone, and the speaker goes, it's like Joe Cocker doing the scream. And it's omnipresent, but not really audible unless you hit that note. Try to make that note I mean, here, this is now, I mean, we are super low. This is on 1 and we can still talk.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now it makes sense. I think vintage 30s, other speakers do also cone cry, but the vintage 30 is where it's most obvious. This could be the noise or the strange kind of sound change that he's facing at this volume.
Yeah.
It disappears when you go under the volume. It's like, was there anything? It simply disappears. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a good answer. And yeah, the V30 is often a speaker that people talk about buying used because you need to burn it in.
Yeah, that's the one. A new one is only good if the amp sounds, to me, a bit boring. If the amp has a lot of overtones, like what I enjoy with my BluGuitar amps or some other amps, it is like, it can be a bit, I wouldn't say rough, but it could be a bit sandy in a way. It's not smooth.
Yeah.
But when they're really broken in, they lose, the stuff that hurts me, and there's still enough of that grains that it's okay. So I'm a fan of old vintage 30s.
Yeah.
And some new ones I hate. It's like, ugh, I can hear the 3K, which is something, ouch. Yeah, anyway, I'm very sensitive on this.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We'll move on to another question someone has about the Blue Box.
Yeah.
I can't say the name, it's or something like that. But anyway, he says, hey, I got my amp one last week and I love it. I also have a Blue Box, but the Blue Box always sounds a bit fizzy. XLR out as well as line out just doesn't seem to sound close to what he hears in the demos. Any ideas for him to improve that?
Okay, well, the first thing is use the mic position like never over the middle. I reduce it a tiny bit, like I put it on 11. This one goes to 11 too. So the fizz. Okay, there's how to describe the thing. Of course, it depends on the settings of the amp as well. What you are hearing right now is kind of super low level. The LED indicator of the Blue Box doesn't even go on at this volume. Now when I play this volume, it starts to flicker and show, oh, there's some signal. I detected some signal, And I actually like the Blue Box best when the green is always on and when the peaks turn red, because there's kind of a soft clip compression thing, like a speaker that is driven hard. Okay, back to the fizzy sound is fizz. You would describe something that has highs that are not connected to the mids. So I would recommend use a bit more mids and a little less treble. Just on the amp 1, if you have an amp 1 down on the treble and 1 up on the mids, and maybe the mic position 1 lower. Then it sounds more pleasant to you. But in the mix, you might miss that again. My experience is, if you listen to great guitar tones, Eddie Van Halen, Steve Lukather, you will be shocked how much treble there is. I mean, if you get the isolated tracks by some of those famous records, it's like, even me that likes that kind of transparent highs goes like, wow. And my point is, if it's fizzy, get rid of the fizz. But maybe you should reconsider your description of fizziness and what works. I'm not saying that I like fizzy sounds. I'm saying I like sound that work and are not fizzy. I'm on the edge, but therefore I get the beautiful highs. That's my this kind of sparkle out of the guitar, I need a lot of high end, which if the saturation is not smooth, sounds fizzy. So the signal path here is like tons of highs into the amp, into many stages that even enhance the high end, even enhance the high, but then you have to mellow it down with filtering in between the stages and with the blue box. So that's the sound cooking recipe for it. Okay, yeah, try to experiment a bit more. And trust me, I do nothing. Nothing is tuned here. This amp one came straight out of the box. Just unpacked it, plugged it in, and it sounds as good as any other amp one, and it sounds killer. When you don't play live, I play the live streams, but now back in my living room, sitting on this side, not on the other side, I thought, man, this sounds good. Yeah.
I got
yeah.
an even more important question.
Yeah.
Why do we never see you with a Telecaster? As a Telecaster lover myself, for me, that's a good question. Thank you, Loden.
Because it's upstairs. I could drill a hole in the roof exactly on top of my head, and I would be hidden by a Telecaster. To be honest, my personal Telecaster is not. It's a good one, but it's not like a killer one. It is a. It used to be a Dutch guy who makes the Telecasters, but it has been pimped with a fake Fender sticker with a black lacquered pickguard, and I think there's some Klopman pickups in there. It's a good guitar, but me being in Nashville every summer, oh man, I heard Telecasters to die for. And if there's a guitar on my wish list, there's not much, but maybe one of those killer Teles one day.
Yeah, because you have the Strat, you have an awesome 335,
yeah,
you've got a great Les Paul, and it kind of seems like number 4 on that list would be
a good Tele.
An amazing Tele.
Yeah, the Tele always that I own, I can bring it for some future live streams. It's there. It sits in the case, and actually I have more guitars we could talk about. I have Melody Maker Gibsons. I have an electric sitar. I have some stuff that you've probably never seen, because, yeah, why? Because they are special. Either very special or not top-notch good as these. Good, and they worked in the studio and they did the job, but it's like my top-notch guitars always were the winner. Yeah, and my Tele is good enough to be the Tele if the Tele thing is required. But once it's a general thing, I have other guitars that kill my Tele.
Yeah.
So the Tele that would make me play it more would be a Tele that is at the killer level of my other guitars.
Do you think there could be a new one that would do that, or would it have to be a vintage instrument?
That's a very good question. I know a guy in the Ruhrgebiet, in a shop, Hardline Music in Wuppertal. And there's I forgot his name, there's a guy who builds guitars, Strats and Teles, and he's a Tele player. And his new vintage looking Teles really got me like, maybe I should buy one of those. I have not a priority for this guitar, but there will be, here's my Tele. Somebody grab me a Tele. Come on, guys, we do the real deal. And simply, oops, oh, yeah. Here is a Tele. Oh, tuning is something different. we got tuners to do that job.
So this is not a real Fender. This is a Telecaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And yeah, it's kind of what I expected from you. It's sort of like a butterscotch blackguard telly, but it's got this pretty exotic neck on it. I don't know if you guys can see the neck from here, but there's quite a lot of maple patterns going on.
Yeah, so that's all. It's all good. There's nothing wrong.
Which you don't often see on Fenders, and particularly old ones. You see it on modern day custom shop ones. But
yeah, I mean, it needs some new strings, but it's a good guitar. Usually a good telly would kill a Strat, but just, can you hold this for a sec or put it on the floor? This is a BluGuitar, which is also a new guitar. Listen to this. Okay, I'm missing a little bit output, but so, you know, such a simple construction like a telly, if everything is right, it sounds bigger than a Strat.
yeah.
And this is like on the same level. So for a telly, it's just a good one. And yeah, one day I have a super one. Okay, that's the telly question. Cool.
Yeah, and now you guys have seen Thomas playing a telly, so you can be happy. And yeah, who knows? Maybe next year you'll start a journey to try and find one for yourself.
Hey, there's a story about me and guitars. When I bought my 61 Strat, I had the choice of two guitars. One was the white 61, and the other one was a 64. And I couldn't afford that one because it was a celebrity owner of a guitar player from Udo Lindenberg, which is kind of Bruce Springsteen of Germany. And the guitar player of that band wanted a bit more money, which it was fairly reasonable, 4,000 Deutschmarks, but I was not able to pay that money. And I was always looking for a 64 Strat like that one because I still remember the tone of that one. It was a killer guitar. I regret to have bought it. And such a guitar will sometimes, I was looking, I was searching, I was contacting people, and guess what? 30 years, no good guitar. Forget it. So the thing is, it might come or it might not come. So I'm not desperately seeking for anything. One day somebody says, hey, I got this 53 Teller or whatever, and it's only 10,000 for you. And then I go, okay, no problem. Yeah, let's do it. But to me, the story is always a guitar has to talk to me. It is like I play the guitar and we become friends immediately, or we just had a brief play. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm going to move back to an amp 1 question.
Yes, please.
Billy Kidman says, why does the vintage channel in low gain mode resemble a plexi? Does the standard gain mode resemble a jumped plexi? And which mode would you recommend with a fuzz in front?
Okay. Okay, many questions here. Low gain mode is, you know, just looking on this side of the room, there is 2 plexis already, and there's another 5 upstairs, and so we have plexis in the house in every corner.
Yeah.
And I even have plexis borrowed to other people who don't have the best. By the way, this plexi here is a 1965 GTM 45. And then below that is a 1968 modified PA, and I have another 67 Black Flag, blah blah blah. I got them all. So, and I love those amps, and they are all slightly different. So, talking about plexis, it is kind of a genre of that British tone, but from year to year, from Transformer, from the Drake to blah blah Transformer, there's changes from the capacitors. All the plexis have different stiffness, sweetness, volumes, aggressiveness, blah blah blah. So that's one thing you should know. And I have 10 plexis because they are all different. Why should I have 10 plexis if they all sound exactly the same? That's bullshit. So now having those plexis, I can do these things like bridging the inputs, and that has a certain effect on the tone. And then I do have the high treble input, I have the normal input that I can use like individually, and all these options. The amp 1 is heavily inspired by all that, but it has a few ideal settings, I believe, that I experienced with my plexi collection. So one is in the low gain mode, where the sound is most woody, and I would call that authentic plexi. Authentic like the old ones. But hey guys, authentic plexi means you have to crank them, you have to play them loud. If you play a plexi at living room volume, what we are doing right now here, you will be disappointed because it's a boring amp. A boring amp at low volume. But once cranked, it comes alive and does the AC/DC, rock, blues, whatever thing like no other amp. And that's the very the cool thing. So anyway, and here is the point to the question is now the bridged input is something that I like, and it affects basically all of my vintage channels sounds. It's without the low gain mode, it's probably the closest to not bridged, but as you decrease the gain in the low gain mode, this can be actually adjusted with like a remote 1 or MIDI. You can even set your own mix, and then you can mix in between the two inputs. That's also some weird thing I've done to get those nuances I can get by blending the two inputs. And you can recreate that by using the low gain mode and changing the gain in the low gain mode. I mean, if you record it on a Mercury, you simply, this will maybe plop okay, no, let's do it like this. Switch off. I press and hold the boost button. Switch it on. So, and now we are in low gain. So. This is the plexi in low gain mode, on gain full. And this, of course, is the sound of a cranked plexi. I mean, the kind of... this sound you would usually get with one of those only at, here's the police, get out, we arrest you for noise, you know, volume level. But this is already in my vintage channel. And this does all the stuff that I love from a crank plexi. Yeah, okay. Anything I forgot about?
What did he also ask? Something about putting a fuzz in front of it.
Ah, the fuzz, exactly. Yeah. I knew that something was missing. Well, the thing about the fuzz is it depends on the fuzz. Fuzzes are so different. Some fuzzes, they are so muddy that they need less load and more high end. In that case, probably it's good to reduce the gain a bit, since reducing the gain brings up the highs. There's kind of a treble bleed on the gain already. Hey, there is no real rule. I would use it on the low gain mode. Why? Because when you use low gain, you have more headroom, and so the more headroom can be used from the fuzz, and this saturation from the fuzz, does more versus the amp, if that's what you want. On the other hand, sometimes people want that super cranked fuzz sound, then go and crank it to 10 and put the fuzz even in front of that. Be a bit careful with the output of the fuzz, because then you have so much gain that the amp even has more gain than needed. So that's the thing to experiment. But rule of thumb would be low gain mode, and a fuzz should make a killer tone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it also depends on what kind of fuzz it is, because fuzz is so, different and defined by personal taste as well. If you're a fuzz face person,
absolutely,
or if you like sputtery sort of modern
Here
fuzzes.
at this very place, I recorded all my pedalicious YouTube videos, and I don't know how many episodes I have out there, but this is about 30 episodes too, and maybe every third had a fuzz in it. And I always tried fuzzes with the clean channel, boosted, or the vintage channel. And for me, most fuzzes sound good with the vintage channel. But check out the pedalicious, and maybe you can find the fuzz that you are having at home there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fuzz is another like personal journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and there are great fuzz tones and there are shitty fuzz tones. Yeah. And you have to know what you're doing with it. Because when I was younger, my first experience with the fuzz was like, man, this sucks. This is the worst thing ever. But then you learn about how to deal with it, and then you find the beauty. And it does one thing that I love, which is turning down the volume on the guitar and cleaning up. And that's the main thing that Hendrix used it for. You know, when he played... He played all this rhythmic stuff, and then you... I don't have a fuzz, but imagine the amp is cranked, and the fuzz makes the turn down guitar cleaner, and then when it's on full, it makes the guitar sound like burning. And so I like this idea of expanding the tonal range. And a civilized fuzz, in a way, is what I like best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a fuzz, civilized.
Yeah, civilized fuzz. Okay. This takes me on to another good pedal question, which comes from Charlie Porter. Compliments of the season from Scotland. He says, Thomas, he loved the Blackmore and Deep Purple episodes that you did. Is there a modern phaser pedal that can help Charlie to get those Schultz tones?
Phaser pedal. I mean,
Yes.
he's talking about, I have the compact phasing A pedal from Schulze Electronics Berlin. Is it Schulze?
He says Schultz or Schulte tones, but I
Schulte.
guess that's what he means.
Yeah.
Schulze, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a modern company or is that
No,
that's an old company?
It's a 70s pedal.
Yeah.
I have the original upstairs in my collection. This kind of phaser is, to be honest, I don't know. I have that pedal. It makes that super iconic sound because that's I mean, it's not even a pedal. It's even bigger than the amp, and it's just a phaser. It has the light bulbs inside, so it is something old. It's the same kind of construction like many vibe pedals, but it's a phaser, and this phaser sounds especially good on slow motion. That's what I noticed. To be honest, I cannot give you a real recommendation here, but that's something I should look at for the future. That's a very good point. Yeah, sorry. Look. I have to look my own episode back, what you saw, and then maybe think about it.
Yeah, and keep watching the live stream, Charlie, because I think in the future you are going to do some more kind of pedal discoveries, and we get a lot of questions about the old pedals that you use a lot, and is there an affordable modern version which is not massive and doesn't have a weird 12-volt power supply or something?
Absolutely, and it's like, thank you for this kind of question, because there is a reason why I bought that pedal, and for some reason I'm not using it. It's mainly because it's mechanically too big, and I live with my small stone phaser because that's kind of my best all-rounder, and I love it for what it is. But looking under this kind of different angle, the Blackmore angle, that's something is like, okay, let's check that out.
Yeah.
And the small stone has a switch for another tone. Here it is. Hey guys, see, we have everything here. So I'm not lying. This is bigger than the amp. Yeah. Larger, and wait a minute. Let's show you. Here we go. Disassemble a Schulte compact phasing A. Here we see the light bulb. Come on. Can you see it? So, and there's like 4 photo resistors, and this is the standard way how it's done. And the tape is just to protect that there's no other light interfering with the light bulb.
Yeah.
That's a pedal from the 70s. What is it called exactly? It's written here. Compact Phasing A. Gerd Schulte Audio Elektronik. Yeah. So, Gerd Schulte, very German. And that's definitely a pedal, and I'm talking about my whole collection. Everything that has a character will end up in Amp X over the years. So this is my personal cleanup of the mess, I mean, these pedals are great, but it's like, man, can I put this on a pedal board? No, it's too heavy. It doesn't have a bypass switch. It has, it's not usable. And so his question is right. What, is there like a modern pedal that can do the same job equally good? Maybe yes. I'm sure there is something. But for me, the pedal is here, and one day in the very late future, this pedal will end up in the X. So that's why I have all these pedals. Yeah, cool.
Can you talk a little bit more about some of those plans for the Amp X? Is there any information that you can give now about the ideas behind putting certain effects into the X?
Yeah. Well, basically, the Amp X is as analog as it can be. So the signal path can be 100% analog from input to output. Of course, if I have something like a detune, I have to convert the signal, because the analog signal of whatever a low E string drop tune needs to be digitalized, converted, changed, and then back. But most other effects I will do as, you know, dry signal analog, and then just add some effects digitally, but having sound analog as possible. And I know lots of that stuff will be possible because we already experimented to check out if our platform is able to do that. There's a downside on that thing. I'm not as flexible as my digital colleagues in a way that, you know, I have blocks and you can move them around and I have like 3 compressors in a row and blah, blah, blah. Because in software, that's a piece of cake. If you do it analog, it's like having real pedals. And it's getting a total mess if you flip around certain things. So on the one hand, I have to compromise. On the other hand, I come to a quality level I believe that is just as good as this. And there's the magic about the good old analog pedals, that even a simple effect is so intense that is all you need. A fantastic tremolo is a fantastic tremolo, you know? And in the digital world, it's like, whoop, 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 you make some modulation in volume, done. But hey, in the real world, it's like, oh, this works in the power amp stage of the amp, and it's a bias kind of thing, and then it triggers some weird side effects and stuff like that. And this is all the stuff I'm after. And it will take time because I want to do it right. You know, don't expect I have everything out in the first revision. But this is why I created this platform, and then clean up my mess, get all the stuff that I collected and some other stuff that I don't own, but I have friends that own good gear, and put it in my little future toy. This is the big picture for myself even. And so I know what I'm doing the next 10 years, you know? It's simple. And besides that, I will have a few side projects, maybe a combo or maybe whatever. But, you know, for me, that's a logical progression in what I've done in the past and in the present and for the future. To me, it makes total sense. And coming back to what I said at the beginning with the organizers of concerts, when something makes total sense, I'm all in. So this is, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing about the X then, kind of related, the Eye of the Deer says he likes the ease of use of the Blue Box and is probably going to buy one. Will there be a version of the Blue Box for personal IRs? And I guess, again, that's more towards the Amp X.
Yeah, that's a super future talk. I mean, at this point, the Blue Box is 16 IRs of my personal collection of cabinets that have been used in my life as a session player, as a gigging player, and I know that these cabinets do work. Because same like this effect, I own them. They are here upstairs in the next room. I mean, we can have more questions and more people coming downstairs, and then we mess up this room for Christmas. You know, here's another Christmas present. Anyway, but the thing is, what was the question?
IR loading in the Blue Box.
IR loading in the Blue Box. Yeah, you know, drilling the hole, there are more speakers than you think. The other day I got a call from Celestian, as you know, because you forwarded me the email, and I offered Celestian, if you ever need some old mint condition speakers I have unboxed early blackbacks, greenbacks from '66, everything, because I've been to every music store that you could imagine, and if I find something, with a technician, I go there and say, oh, what is this? Oh, this is a whatever, a clear bottle GT 66 General Electric's tube. Oh, how much do you want? Okay, and so I bought all that shit. So it's here. And back to the Blue Box is the 16 cabinets that are in there work. And in the future, yeah, we could make a Blue Box that offers more versatility. But my concept about a Blue Box is I wanted to make the most simple, easy to use speaker emulator that still has the impulse response technology. And there are some great IR loaders, because to create a technical platform for IRs, to playback IRs, is something that a digital engineer can do. There's not much audio involved. This has a little bit more analog compression on the circuitry. That's why it sounds probably a bit richer than just a standard IR loader, but it's based around the same technology. So for the future, I can think of that, but this is 2023, 25, you might be dead.
But we hope you aren't.
No, of course not.
I got another really interesting question, and this one comes from Tony Narrows, and he says, are there any maps for sounds you've done against other amps? And by that he means settings. Would be nice to get guidelines if you want to make the amp sound more like a Soldano, or perhaps a Bogner, that kind of stuff.
That's a good point. I did a few at the beginning, and then in the live streams it's always so busy. So you should simply, we have an overhead camera when I do the A/B comparisons. Stop the video, on YouTube, see where it is at, and then get the sharp picture where you see the bass is on 3 and this is it. This is something we will work on, to excerpt these snippets out of 36 YouTube things, name them, and probably put the settings below.
Sounds like a fun job for whoever's gonna
well,
do that job.
I think this is a job for you.
Really?
Yeah, always something nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Yeah, so this stuff, it is in the live streams, and we will go through it in the next few months, and we will cut out all those sounds and the ABs, amp 1 versus this classic amp, and so on.
And then we have the overlay things that come with our test station. These can actually be downloaded from our website also. These give you suggested settings for a few cliche type of sounds. That's an option as well. But when in the act of doing the ABs, it is the best is stop the video. Of course, I know the recipes best, but to be honest, I've done so many, I forgot about it. I would maybe remember how to do an AC15 versus a Vox versus with a clean channel boost on, treble, but then I forgot about where the mid was, so I have to do it again. Or watch the video. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go through one more kind of technical question, and then we should probably go back to the rest of the year review, which is what we promised people at first. But Milan says, hi Thomas, can you describe the tonal spectrum of the boost custom control as you turn it from minimum to maximum, with maybe reference to some boost or tube screamer type pedals?
Yeah, okay. A tube screamer is a tube screamer. A tube screamer is a pedal that has a certain character because it has a roll of the bass. So it's like a low cut, a natural low cut by nature, and then it kind of has a mid honk all the time. I mean, on the one hand, it's a fantastic pedal if you want that. In the old days, Stevie Ray Vaughan had like scoop mids Fenders clean, and then the Tube Screamer was bringing back the mids, and that was a magic combination. But if you have an amp that is more or less flat, the extra mids is something. Sometimes it's nice, but me personally is like sometimes it's getting too nasal or nosy. The color stays always the same, and my boost is slightly different. Maybe I can simply turn it up and you can hear. So this is the boost at the minimum setting. I'm on a clean channel now. So switch off the boost. I would call that a sparkle boost. The boost itself has internally 2 stages, and that little trim pot, this little knob there, the axis goes through 2 trimmers. So the first one is a drive of 1 stage, and the higher the output of the first stage is, you will saturate the second stage. So this boost can be 2 things, a boost in volume and a saturated boost. I mean, a Tube Screamer has a drive control, and so this boost has a drive, but the second one compensates the volume, so it doesn't go all over the place. Oh, I could give you now the modification hints, but everybody will screw the warranty. No, I'm not talking about that. But anyway, let me show you what happens when I crank the boost. So this is off. That's a nice clean, but you know, not too sparkly, just so. Now bring in the boost. It starts with a sparkle. So I increase the volume on the boost, like to mid. It's getting more and more sparkly. Let me compensate the volume, because we don't want to cheat, that's important. Any dB of more volume is more amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a... So, next is, I put it, just to make it a bit more dramatic, all the way up. It starts to saturate. And that's the boost itself. I can prove that by turning down the clean volume. And now it's like... This is just what the boost does. And now when I bring back the clean volume, or it could be an overdriven channel, now the boost is driving the input stage of the clean channel as well. So besides having his own slight overdriven character, it now even saturates the next stage. And this... This now is a combination of the boost drive and the amp drive. So if we are talking about pedals in the market, the Vertex boost, maybe you know, there's an American company, Mason Margiela.
Is it the steel string, is it called, or something like that?
Yeah, steel string is the one that is the sound of a dumble, but Vertex has also a boost pedal.
Okay.
And it's more like a neutral boost, but this is something you get more or less when you put it down. I have actually more sparkle, and it's not a frequency thing, it's an overtone thing, because even at the low setting, the 2 stages will produce extra overtones. It's not actually the tube that does it, but we have a schematic that replaces tubes. It's like a tube style booster. So this is killer. And so this was, and then when I crank it, I get more and more of these overtones. But even at the lowest settings, I have already those overtones. And then the more I crank it, the more they start to bark, go into the mids and get this chewy sound. There's a few pedals that I was inspired because I like them. What was it? Church of Tone, Love Pedal. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, I have a collection. Watch Pedalicious. I have so many boost pedals. I put it upstairs yesterday because there's a tube pedal called Effect Road. The red. It's a tube booster from the British company Effect Road. Mm-hmm. And that's another one of my favorites. Yeah. And so, like with the Plexis, I have probably 50 boost pedals, and it's like a blend of sweet spots that are in my head from experiencing all these pedals.
Yeah, that's another episode for sure. Like all the different boost pedals that you've had over the decades.
Absolutely,
that'd be a good one.
Yeah. I mean,
if there's 50, that's going to be a series of shows, I think. But
yes,
yeah.
And but I'm excited about a combination of an amp and a boost. I mean, just listen to this. The clean sound is nice, but at a boost, it's now we're talking. I'm the guy that loves the boost. Simple. Yeah.
This is a question that you often hear, and which I'm going to ask now from my side.
Yeah.
You've got a boost. Why not just turn the amp up a little bit more?
The boost is pre the overdrive stages, so it will increase the gain a bit, but it will add another stage. And I'm about gain staging, like one stage that clips a little bit into another one that creates overtones into another one. The cranked Marshall sounds killer because all the stages in the signal path kind of clip at one point. If you have the power amp low, the amp sounds boring because no clipping at any stages. So if you combine more slightly hot driven stages, you get this alive tone. That's when a guitar comes alive. I mean, there's overtones from the strings, and that's why I like single coils, because they already have overtones. But then combined with an amplifier that even creates more, you get an even more exciting array of tones. And this is what you get with a booster versus just having more gain, because it's not interacting. It's just having one style of overtones more. It's not like I have this kind of harmonics into this kind of harmonics, and this is where the fun sits, And then when you have a boost pedal that clips into a preamp stage that clips into the next stage, and a power amp stage that clips into a speaker that kind of is dynamic and barks, and then you dial on your guitar, anything happens, and this is the magic to me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. I'm fascinated by this from my very early days, and I learned that recipe early enough, and on my way the last years, I found so many exciting combinations, classic ones and the stuff that I do myself. Yeah, so that's a nice journey.
Would you recommend that Amp One owners experiment with the boost, or do you recommend that they also go out and get a selection of external boosters and just mix and match?
The internal boost, I still love the internal boost. There is nothing wrong about the internal boost, and I can do all my core sounds with it. So for me, it's a thing. But as I said, it's like spices. Every boost has a little nuance of a different flavor to it. And this interacts with your guitar as well. So, you know, there's like matches made in heaven for certain combinations of a guitar and a boost pedal and an amp. And maybe that particular boost that suits a certain guitar so well is not built into the amp 1. Even though the amp 1 boost does probably a lot more than you would think. So experiment with the internal boost first to see what you already got without paying any extra. But then if you go out and find another exciting boost, get it. I mean, it's just getting another guitar for me sometimes. For me, it's like when you watch the Pedalicious episodes, it's like on the fly. Sometimes I bought all the stuff that I was demonstrating. Yeah, that's why I had to stop it.
That's why the videos dried up, because the budget dried up as well. I get it. Have you got anything else on your review of the year list?
Let me check. I wanted a few highlights briefly. Okay, shall we talk about this? No, another one. This year was the year where my Gold Top came alive. I owned that guitar for 10 years, and my friend Andreas Kloppmann did the 5th set of pickups for it, and now we are in the zone of the Holy Grail. And I played that Gold Top twice last year on stage. You've never seen me with a Les Paul on a live event before. Never. In the studio, yes, but there's no pictures of me. But on a live show, and I even played a full show only on the Les Paul. And this year we got even pickups that were better. So now I feel safe with that kind of instrument. So that's a big step forward for me, the Strat guy that finally finds the Les Paul equally good if it has that quality. And doesn't cost 250,000 euros. Yeah, that was on my list. We had a great summer, and I had many nice bike tours. I had, so that's.
He doesn't always have his guitar on when he's riding the bike.
No.
But sometimes.
Sometimes I do, and it's that guitar, and you can see it's still alive. So I didn't fall from the bike. No, I mean, I tried to make the best out of the year, and what I really remember is this 2020 will go back as a crazy year in the way of COVID. What a deep, heavy, different life we all had to do.
Yeah.
And then, on the other hand, will be a year of working on MX. It is one of those things that took some time on details, and I was starting to write the manual part 1 as a thing, waking up 8 in the morning, setting the alarm, and actually working 2 hours every day, or like 3 days a week for a month to write 100 pages. And this is still not finished. This is just version 1. So this is something I will continue to do, because somebody has to write it, to tell what this piece of gear will do. And yeah, so that's a job, and it requires a little bit of discipline, but it's also like, I feel like being in a tunnel, but there's some light at the end of the tunnel, and I've been through the tunnel once, and I go back and from the other side, and this goes back 3 or 4 times. When I was writing the AMP1 manual, this was over a year. I mean, it's only 50 pages, because you translated it back then, back in the day.
Yeah.
And this will be a lot more. So that's just by doing that for like a month every day as a heavy routine was something that I will remember. Yeah, I think, yeah, there's more stuff that I might tell in some other episodes. But yeah. Any questions we are missing?
There's loads of questions. We're not going to be able to answer them.
Okay.
You're too popular. People want to know so much stuff, but I guess we should, let's maybe take the questions across to another live stream in 2021 and make sure that we answer everybody. I guess, the one last comment I would read, I've lost it. But it was just from...
Too many.
Yeah, it was too many, but it was someone wishing us, everyone here at BluGuitar, and you, Thomas, a very Merry Christmas. Alessandro. Hi, Thomas. Merry Christmas to you and the entire BluGuitar family.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I'm so happy that we've done these live streams, and I'm so happy that we have created a format that we interact with you on YouTube, or especially because I can't do the clinics where I, go to stores or places where we physically can meet. But I'm kind of astonished and I'm happy that it's possible, even without meeting in person, to be alive. It felt a bit strange at the beginning. You talk to a camera and nobody there, but now it's okay, and I can feel the feedback. I mean, you tell me that there's people writing back, and now it's like, it becomes a natural thing, which is great. And that's one of the biggest experiences of 2020. That it actually is possible to interact without traveling too much, which doesn't mean that I don't like to travel. So when it's possible, again, I come to the States, I go to whatever, somewhere where there's a sea and to the lake, whatever, and I'll be traveling again. But it is a great experience to see that we can live and still feel alive without doing that, in a way. Of course, there's something we are missing. But Christmas, I hope you have a Merry Christmas with whatever is possible. I mean, we've made crazy things in the company, like trying to distance more, so when we see our parents, which are more endangered, that our colleague Kai had even a COVID test now, so he's absolutely sure that blah blah blah, everything is safe, to finish the whole thing up, I wish you all a Merry Christmas. We won't have a live stream for New Year's. We tried very hard to get actually a music live stream, but it's not possible at this point. We could not get anything together that would be worth doing. So I decided, you know what, call it a day. This is our Christmas and end of the year live stream, and we see you guys in the new year on the, when was it? The 6th?
Wednesday the 6th of January at the same time.
Yeah.
That's when we'll start again in 2021.
Yeah, and see, this was my year 2020, and everything red is gigs and everything red is cancelled. And everything blue was jobs or stuff with the company where I had events, and they also got cancelled. So you draw this kind of calendar, you look forward to a year, and then everything changes, and make the best out of it. That's something I learned, is whatever comes, you still have an option, and you can make something positive out of it. And I know I was depressed because some of those nice gigs I was not able to play, I was missing. But on the other hand, you know what? I will even enjoy them more when I can do them again. You know, there's one experience from my very 20s. I was never doing diets or stuff, but then I was living in a Wohngemeinschaft, which is like students living in one apartment, and some of those crazy freaks and drug takers said, oh, we all have to have a diet, so we don't eat for the next 2 weeks. So we didn't eat, we just had water. And I will never forget the feeling of having your first meal after a diet. And this will be the same thing for the first gig after the COVID-19. So it will be super intense. Maybe we will play crappy because we don't have the routine and practice, but it will be super intense, at least for us musicians. So yeah. See you on the other side of the COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the crowd is going to be exactly the same, right? Because they also want that hit of seeing the musicians play as well. So I think in 2021, when live music starts again, we're all just going to be super happy. And no matter if we play bad, the people out there are going to enjoy it. 100%.
Yeah, they will enjoy it 200%.
200%, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's it for today, right?
Yeah, once again, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into the last BluGuitar live stream with Thomas and me in 2020.
Richard Morgan.
Yeah. We're sorry we couldn't answer everything. There's just too many questions coming in, but ask us on social media. Come back on the 6th of January, ask again. We'll get to as many topics as we can. But signing off from Academy of Tone 36, and we will see you next year. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year. And we'll see you next time.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.